Good evening, everybody. Sarah again here from Pleasant View. Andy with me as well.
Hi.
And we're back again as it's now been just about almost 36 hours, for sure over 24 into that 24, 36 hours range, that our second ferment of the kefir has been going on. And Andy's been keeping an eye on it and making sure that it's gotten to the point of separation that he looks for in knowing when the process is complete and it's ready to be bottled. So I'm going to turn the camera here with my arm and hopefully you can see.
So what you want to look for is when the milk thickens. This happens from the change in pH. When the pH drops, it causes the milk fats and proteins to coagulate, in, and it starts to break. And it becomes more viscous. So see, when I rotate the jar, there's an inertia there, and the inside stays still.
Hopefully you're able to see that with the video.
So when you start to see the breaks in the sides, not just at the top or just at the bottom where the kefir grains will be, but in the sides, then it's most likely done. And to know for sure, you really need to open the jar or stir it and give it a little taste. It should be quite sour.
So Andy, just a question for you. Let's say, because we said in our other videos that once you put in the container your grains and you add the milk to it, every so often you're shaking it or you're stirring it. You know, you leave the lid on, but you're just
Right.
turning the jar. You said, I believe in the other video, that 24 to 36 hours was the sweet spot for
Right.
making your
Yeah,
kefir.
yeah.
So I guess, what if people see this before 24 hours? Should they just let it keep going? Or how did you learn to know, or I guess, how do they know when it's done?
Well, that's a good question, and it depends on what you're wanting out of your kefir. Most likely, if it's happening before 24 hours, what's happening is that it's fermenting a little faster than ideal, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that could mean that the temperature is too high. Like maybe it's over 90 degrees in your house, or that you've got more grains to milk than
That ratio.
than what I use. If that happened to me, what I would do is taste it and see what it tastes like, and if it tastes good, then I would harvest it. If it didn't taste right, depending on how it tastes, I'm sorry, I don't have a really good definitive answer. I would either scrap it if it tasted really funny, or I'd let it keep going longer.
So basically, I just want to reassure people, if they open these jars before
Yeah.
24 hours or before that
Right.
36, they're not going to ruin it.
No.
Okay.
And in my opinion, it's always better to let it over ferment than to harvest it too early, because when you let it over ferment, you're gonna get those really special proteins that only can be come through a long fermentation. So when that happens, can you turn that on to
Sure.
these? Now let's say that we let it sit longer and longer. What you're gonna see is it's completely separate. There'll be like clear liquid at the bottom and solid weight at the top, and you can turn it back, and that means that it's probably gone beyond ideal, but it's going to be as healthy as you can be. Then all that white stuff, the way was where all the proteins are. That's kind of where all the magic stuff from kefir is at. So now if you let it over ferment like that, it might be a little more thin in texture, and the flavor will be more sour, but it's going to be very, very healthy. So especially when you're first starting out, I would always, if you're not sure, I'd let it go longer rather than harvesting it too early. If you stop the fermentation too early, if it's not quite tart, then what can happen is it can spoil, and your kefir may be unhealthy. So it's always better to let it go a little too long rather than cutting it too short.
Okay. So again, 24 to 36 hours is that harvesting or the ripening window.
Right.
If you're under 24, again, check it, open it up, check it, see how it tastes, and make sure it's separated well enough. Otherwise, let it go for another 12
Right.
hours. You're not going to harm it.
Right.
You actually might get better proteins from it.
Right, and
Okay.
the reason I'm saying that's kind of the magic window is because that's when you can get the really good flavor with a nice thick texture. And if it goes beyond 36 hours, it's still going to be very, very healthy, but it might not be as good and good tasting.
Okay.
And then one more thing is that, I said that our grains have multiplied over time, and you can take a ferment like this and sacrifice the kefir to increase your volume of grains. So let's say you get a tablespoon of grain. The grains are quite expensive, like $20 a tablespoon. So let's say that you've got lots and lots of goat milk, and you want a fair amount of kefir. What you can do when you're first starting off is let your jar just over ferment until you get it where it separates like that, and then you can leave it for a few days, and then your kefir grains will kind of increase exponentially. But then the kefir itself won't really be good tasting. It'll still be very healthy, but it's not something you probably really enjoy drinking. So
Okay.
does that
Good to
make
know.
sense?
Yes, it does. I think
Okay.
so. If anybody has any questions, as always, don't hesitate to comment on the video or send us a private message on Facebook under Pleasant View, and we'll address it in another video. So tonight, again, we've got our second harvest, our second ferment that's ready to be harvested. So Andy's going to do the process of bottling, I believe.
So do you want to do that right now, or do you want to stop the video and restart it?
Well, why don't you walk through the equipment, maybe?
Okay.
And
Sure.
let's see on the setup and see if I need to put the camera down, or
Okay.
we might be able to prop the camera up here, honey, too.
So what I'm going to use the same things that I did before. I use a nice big spoon, and then this flour sifter that's really nice. It's got the adjustable so it can fit to your sink or to a big bowl. And then I have a big bowl to collect the kefir. And then the other things I'm going to need is a pitcher and a funnel.
That's good.
And then whatever you're going to put your bottles in. I think I'm going to use these glass ones instead.
Okay, sounds good.
So I might actually use the milk tote as well.
Okay.
So
I think we'll just keep the video rolling if you can just bear with us.
then,
You want to start with this guy?
sure.
Okay.
So I'll give it a quick stir.
Okay, so we open it up.
And sometimes you have to be a little careful when you open it. If you have an airtight seal on your jar, that it might, because it might be carbonated. I don't know if you can see that there's the bubbles coming up.
Let me try and capture it here. I don't know if you can see on the video, folks. Yeah, there's bubbles. So it looks just like he opened up a soda. Not as fizzy, but definitely some carbonation. So he's pouring it into his strainer. Strainer's collecting all the kefir grains that were in the jar, letting the kefir go down to the bowl.
Okay. So, and then I'm going to choose, I like to always mix at least 2 jars of kefir, because then, especially when you're doing a lot of them, it's possible you may have one that's not quite ideal, or maybe one that's a little beyond ideal. So this one was, and I tasted the flavor of each jar, so I also know that it is ripe, but I think it's not quite as good as the first one I poured. So I want to mix these two together.
There you go.
Yep. Thank you. So it really helps to have a large container.
Yeah, because we said these jugs here, Andy, so the one you got, that's a gallon jug, right?
Right, yeah.
So this bowl right now has 2 gallons of kefir in it. Obviously, it's nowhere near the top. I want to say, if I can guesstimate, it's probably like right in here. So a big bowl is very useful.
But I probably wouldn't want to do much more than that in here, even though I can probably put another gallon.
Okay. So I'm going to lift up the phone now. So just like the other night, Andy is sifting his grains around, except he's not rinsing them off. He's just sifting them around to get as much of the kefir strained through as he can.
I'm going to go get another big bowl, and I'll be right back. Can you hold
Okay.
this so it doesn't go down in me?
Sure, sure. cue Jeopardy music, right?
And the reason that I'm doing this is that slime that we talked about, that's actually the really good tasting kefir, and I don't want to waste it. I'm kind of obsessive
there's our bowl of
because how
kefir.
good the kefir is. I don't like to waste any of it. So then I need my funnel.
See our nice big bowl of kefir here.
And we'll do the half-gallon jars for those
Okay.
first.
I'm gonna turn around here, sorry. Okay, so what Andy has is from, where do you get your plastic jugs? What supply store?
We get them from, I think we get them from Dick Baker's Dairy in Stevenson.
Okay, okay. So you might have to look online, maybe Amazon or maybe a kitchen store or something can give you the half-gallon jugs. And it does get a little messy, so can I just move this?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to move the bowl closer so that he's dripping all of his precious kefir back into the bowl. So let me move the camera here. So as you can see, he's got his funnel into his half-gallon plastic container. And he likes to have a scooper here. This is a measuring cup, large, heavy duty, but it helps him pour it with just a little spillage, but not much. So, okay. So he's filling up his half-gallon as far as he wants.
Do you want to? We don't need to show all of them being filled up, do you?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think,
let me just show the very final step.
Okay.
That what I like to do is then, and this is kind of important, is I like to get about that much grains per jug. I like to add back to the kefir.
Oh, so you're actually adding...
Yeah.
Oh. What do you think? That's about a teaspoon?
No, it's maybe a quarter teaspoon, quarter to half teaspoon.
Can you show again, please? Okay, so your big spoon.
About like that.
Okay, so Andy's saying about a quarter to half a teaspoon of your grains that you just took out of your kefir to add it right back into the one that you... And why do you do that?
Can you show me again?
Yeah.
The reason that I do that is that the kefir grains are kind of like the command center for the kefir. The whole kefir, it's like the brains of the kefir. Kefir is the jug is actual living organism, and there is communication throughout the whole system. And each grain has 33 different species of microbes, of bacteria and yeast, and they actually communicate with messengers called cytokines. And so if you bottle your kefir without any grains in it, it generally will stay just like it is when you bottle it. But if you put a few grains in there, the flavor actually continues to improve, even though it's in the refrigerator. And also those special proteins that make kefir so healthy, they still can be produced if there's a little bit of grains in there.
Oh, okay.
So that's a really important step that a lot of people may not realize that it's good to do.
Okay. So now, once it's bottled or once it's put in their container for storage, where should they store it, and how long does it keep?
So I put it in the refrigerator right away, and then at first it's got a little bit of a harsh flavor for 2-3 days, and then it mellows out. So I think the best tasting kefir is like a week old to a month old, and it will last probably up to a couple months if you have the grains in there, as long as it's kept at refrigerator temperature, like 35 to 40 or 42, somewhere in there. It doesn't really ever go bad if it's made properly, where it would be unsafe to drink or consume. But what tends to happen is it will separate over time. If it's like less than 6 weeks old, it's still almost always very good, and you just shake it up and can use it like regular. If it's older than that, what tends to happen is it turns into cheese, basically. And so kefir cheese is probably the healthiest cheese there is, because it's so full of all these wonderful proteins and special things that's in kefir. And it's pretty, we've made it a few times just because we've had kefir that got too old, and basically what happens is it turns to whey, and then the solids that becomes cheese. So it really is a wonderful product, and really should never be dangerous as it ages.
So let's say I take this now and I put this in the refrigerator, Andy, and obviously me and my family are going to consume this. When I take it out to pour myself a glass, do you need something?
I'm just looking for the marker.
Oh, okay, right here. When I take it out of the fridge to pour myself a glass, do you advise like orange juice with pulp that I should like take the container and kind of shake it up before I pour?
Yeah, because it will separate a little bit, and where the whey, the clear part, will usually come up to the top, and that's where all the magic special proteins are. So if you don't, I mean, it's fine if that's all you want to drink, but that part doesn't have much flavor. It's basically completely bland.
Okay.
And the texture is watery, so I would mix it up and then drink it that way.
Okay. Last thing here, I just want to show, sorry again if I missed on the camera, Andy has marked the lid here with a K to represent kefir, and then he always puts the date that he has harvested it. So today is July 3rd. He will mark all of his containers when he bottles them with the 3rd. So it's, just like an expiration date. We know when it was made and when it should be consumed, or obviously, like he said, it's good for a long, long time. It's just a matter of how, notification there, my battery's getting low, how long you want to have it go and how sour you want it to be.
One other thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Then, so the next step after this, what I'm planning on doing is producing another batch. So what I'm going to do is take my grains, rinse them, divide them up again into my 5 jars and add milk, and then repeat the whole process. Then once I have enough kefir, I'm going to put them in hibernation. And so then I do this kind of same process where I rinse them really well. Then I put them in cold milk and then put them in the fridge.
Maybe we'll do that as a video.
Sure.
Like the awakening, we'll do a short hibernation video.
Yeah.
Okay. So for now, Andy said he's going to just make some more kefir, but we'll do a quick one on how to hibernate your grains then. So was there anything else you can think of, Andy, with regards to harvesting your kefir?
No, I think that's it. It is messy, and I have a better system that I don't spill things, but it uses specialized funnels and things that most people don't have, and that's why I didn't show it, because I don't want you to feel like you have to go out and buy a $50 funnel. But there is, if you have questions on what I use, I can show you that on another time, or message you individually. But it can be messy, and there's a lot of labor. That's why making kefir with grains is more expensive than it would be when you use the freeze-dried culture. But again, like I said, if you're consuming it for your health, it really makes a lot of sense to use the grains.
Okay. So. Yep. So I know we've had some people comment on the videos about what kind of health benefits that Andy gets out of it, as well as just really what anybody can get for health benefits. And so you can certainly comment, or you can look on the post. I believe it was on the one you did yesterday. We posted Tuesday night about doing the first ferment and stuff. There was a great comment and some questions by Jesse, I think. Thanks so much, Jesse, for writing in, asking about the health benefits. And Andy's got a little blurb there, but we will do a video about all that, because as he comments on the response, it's a little in depth, and so we'll do it more face on face here. And so if you have any questions in the meantime before we do that video, by all means, again, comment on the videos we're posting or send us a private message, and we'll be happy to jot them down so that we cover them in that. Lastly, I think the other thing we are going to do is just make some recommendations, suggestions on ways you can use your kefir. If you are not a fan of the taste, the sourness straight up, obviously, just like any other new food product we consume, sometimes it takes a while to build up the tolerance, or the your palate getting adjust to it. Some people like it right off the bat if they naturally like sour things. But we will talk, we'll do another
quick comment on that.
Yeah.
Actually, the science behind that is really fascinating, and we'll get in more into this on another time. But like I said, how the kefir grains communicate with each other, our body uses those same cytokines, and that's part of the reason why kefir is so healthy. So when you have kefir microbes in your intestines on a regular basis, they make these cytokines which go into our bloodstream because they're the exact same ones that we use. And that helps to, there's so many different ways that can be beneficial. But one of the ways that it's beneficial, it can affect our mood and our concentration. And it also affects what we like and don't like. The bacteria, actually, they have things that they like to eat. And it's basically, these bacteria, it's healthy things that it's good for us. So like green vegetables, red vegetables, dark fruits, things like that. So it actually, when you first start drinking kefir, you may not like the taste, but the bacteria actually change your brain over time. And so you like the taste. It may take, a month or so. And then you start craving foods that are healthy. It's really, really fascinating.
Little mind control there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that
it
sounds
is.
really scientific.
And the data behind that is actually very good, and it's fairly new. I think it was proven in 2012, so not too long ago.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I can't wait to talk more about that. So,
Yeah.
the other thing was just the recipes. So, how you can use it to get those healthy kefir benefits, not just in drinking the kefir itself, but things like smoothies, and then different recipes like scones or biscuits and other stuff that would normally use buttermilk. But we'll get to that in a different video. We've taken up about 20 minutes of your evening as you're probably getting ready for supper or doing family things here before the 4th of July. Hopefully you're not driving and watching this at the same time. Stay safe out there. And Andy's just going to finish up pouring the rest of his kefir and harvesting this. So we're going to say goodbye and check in with you again.
Good night. Yep.
All right. Take care, everybody. See you again soon.